Hello guys, once again welcome to our YouTube channel Skill Tech 01. So today we are going to cover an important topic, that is DAX, data analysis expression. As you know, this is the query language and it's a formula based language and used in Power BI, Excel, Power Pivot and other analysis services tabular models. Okay, so if you know Power BI, you would have come across this DAX kind of thing, and some people find it difficult and tricky thing. They don't know how to use it, and the data don't come as they expect. So basically they need to make the grip on this topic DAX. They should practice lot and lot. And first thing is the concept. If you know the concept correctly, you understand it, then you can apply the logic. So now we will see some important question we are repeatedly asked in interview. If you are giving a Power BI interview for a company, then DAX must be asked. Be ready for the DAX. So keeping that in mind, I am come with this topic. I've come up with this topic, that is DAX. So let's see. So DAX, what is DAX? So DAX stands for Data Analysis Expression. It's a formula language used in Power BI, Excel, Power Pivot and Analysis Service tabular models for creating custom calculations and aggregation on data. Second, in what are the key features of DAX? So the key features of DAX is calculation and aggregation capability. Like DAX allows you to create complex calculation and aggregation using functions and operators. So using function and operators, you can do calculation and aggregations. Okay. Second one is seamless integration. So DAX integrates seamlessly with Power BI and other Microsoft tools like Excel. Third one is formula based language. So it's a formula based language similar to Excel formulas, making it easy for Excel users to learn and transition to Power BI. Suppose one is well versed and well skilled in Excel, then it won't be difficult for him to go to Power BI learning. He will easily grab the Power BI DAX. Okay, and the fourth one is the tabular data model support. So DAX is designed to work with tabular data models which are commonly used in Power BI and analysis services. Okay, now come to the other question, that is what is calculated columns in DAX? Okay, so what is calculated column in DAX? So a calculated column is a column that you add to a table in Power BI. Okay, and its value are calculated based on DAX formula. Calculated columns are computed during the data loading process and are stored in underlying data model. So these two are very important thing. First is, so it's computed during the data loading process, and second one is it is stored in the underlying data model. Okay, now what is measure and difference? So many times the difference is asked between calculated columns and measure. So you should know it very well. So let's see what is measure. So measure is also a calculation performed on the fly. The difference is calculation performed on fly usually performed at the time of data visualization or reporting. So during data visualization and reporting, it is its calculation are performed. So measure are defined using DAX expression and are typically used to calculate aggregation such as sum, average and count, etc. Now fifth question, how do you define a calculated column in DAX? So how you define a calculated column in DAX? So to define a calculated column, you need to go to modeling tab in Power BI desktop. So select the table and click on new column. Then you can enter the DAX formula that defines the calculation for the column. Now the sixth is question, how do you define a measure in DAX? So the same with little difference, like you go to the modeling tab in Power BI desktop, select the table and click on new measures. Then you enter the DAX formula that defines the calculation for measure. Seventh is, what is difference between calculated column and measure? The question I was talking about. So a calculated column is computed during the data loading process and is stored in data model, while measure is calculated on the fly during data visualization or reporting. So this is the sorry, this is the contrast difference. Okay. Second, calculated column are useful when you need to create new column based on existing columns, while measures are used for aggregation and calculation on data. Now come to the eighth question. What is difference between calculate and filter function in DAX? Calculated filter function in DAX. So the calculate function is used to modify the calculate function is used to modify the filter context of a calculation by applying additional filters or removing existing filters. It allows you to create more complex calculation by specifying condition and modifying the context. The filter function on the other hand is used to apply filters to a table or column and returns a filtered table or column as a result. So calculate function is used to modify the filter context. We are filtering value, then we are doing calculation over it. Okay, so it's a calculate. But in filter function, we are just filtering the data. Okay, which returns either as a filtered table or a column. Okay. Now the ninth question: what is row context and filter context in DAX? So must, these are must, row context and filter context. So row context refers to current row being evaluated in a calculation. DAX formulas are calculated in a row by row manner, and row context determines which rows values are used in calculation. Now the filter context on the other hand refers to set of filters applied to the data model when a calculation is performed. The filter context can be modified using functions like calculate to change the filter applied to a calculation. Okay. Now the 10th question, can you use DAX to create hierarchical relationship in Power BI? The answer is yes. DAX support the creation of hierarchical relationship. You can define hierarchical relationship using function like path, path contains, and path item. These functions help you create parent-child relationship between columns in a table. 11th question, how do you handle date and time calculation in DAX? Very important. So DAX provides a range of functions for working with dates and times, such as date, year, month, day, hour, minute, second, and many more. The functions allow you to extract specific parts of a date or time value, perform calculations, and create custom date hierarchies. Question number 12, how do you optimize query performance in Power BI using DAX? So query optimization questions are frequently asked. So you should be ready for this question and should practice it very well. So to optimize query, optimize performance in Power BI, you can follow these best practices. Use calculated measures instead of calculated columns whenever possible. Second, use proper indexing on the data source. Third, minimize the number of columns and rows loaded in to data model. Optimize DAX formula by avoiding unnecessary calculation and iterating over rows. Enable query folding whenever applicable to push calculation to the data source. Now question number 13, what is the role of earlier function in DAX? So the earlier function is used to refer to prior row context within an iterating calculations. It allows you to access the value of a column from previous row while iterating over the rows of a table. So let's suppose you have this row 1, 2, 3, 4. So if suppose these are your row 1, 2, 3 and 4. Suppose you are in third rows. So what the earlier function will do, it will uh, refer to prior row context. Means if you are in this row, then it can use this row 2. You can refer to this row 2, the previous row. Okay. 14. What is the role of summarize functions in DAX? So the summarize function in DAX used to create summary table by grouping data based on one or more columns. It allows you to define groupings and aggregate calculations such as sum, average, count, etc. for each group. Okay, now 15. How can you optimize performance when working with large data sets in Power BI DAX? So, if you see here, so to optimize performance when working with large data sets, you can follow these practices. First, reduce the number of columns loaded into data model to only what is necessary. Second, optimize data types to use the most appropriate and efficient types. Okay. Third, use relationship and filters effectively to limit the amount of data loaded and processed. To use relationship and filters effectively to limit the amount of data loaded and processed. Use calculated measures instead of calculated columns whenever possible. Leverage query folding to push operations back to the data source for faster processing. So all these are the query optimization techniques in Power BI DAX. 16th question. How do you handle complex calculation involving multiple tables in DAX? So to handle complex calculations involving multiple tables, you can use function like calculate, filter and related. These functions allow you to manipulate the filter context, apply a specific condition or criteria, and retrieve values from related tables to perform the desired calculations. Question number 17. How can you calculate the year to date using DAX? So to calculate the year to date means from starting of the year to the current date is the YTD. So you can use the following formula. YTD sales is our column name. So this is the inbuilt function total YTD sum of the sale table sale column. Okay, and on the basis of the date. So what is our date? Current date, and based on this date, our uh, we can say the YTD is calculated. So in sales table, we are summing the sales values up to the date, which is the second argument, and this whole is called the total YTD. Question number 18. How do you calculate the maximum sales using DAX? So the formula is max sales date, and max is the function sales date. Okay. Question number 19. How do you calculate the total sales for a specific product? Now it's talking about the specific product total sales. So what we can do, total sales calculate function is used, and we are summing sales. Okay, how many sales is there? And the second one is product. We are using product table. Product name is bike. So the product name, which is bike, please get the sum of sales for this product. Okay, so there are two tables. One is the sales table, from where we will get sales value. Second table is product table, from where we will get the product name. So we want to get a specific product wise sum, total sum. So suppose in our product table we have a product name is bike, then for the bike we are getting the total sales. Question number 20. How do you use if function in DAX? Provide an example. So the if function is DAX used to perform conditional evaluation. It checks a given condition and returns different result based on whether the condition is true or false. So let's suppose here is an example. This is our variable result. If sales quantity is greater than 10, then return high, else return low. So the function is like this. Okay, so if, then sales tables quantity column is greater than 10, then high, else low. So this result will having value either high or low depending on this quantity value. 21 question, difference between sum and sum x. So the sum function in DAX is an aggregation function that calculates the sum of numeric expression for a specified column or table. It operates on a column and returns the single scalar values as the sum of all the values in that column. Like here, if you see the sum of sales amount we getting in this total sales. And SUMX function in DAX is an iterator that applies a calculation expression to each row of a table and then sum up the results. So it operates on table and performs a row by row calculation, which makes it useful for performing calculation across multiple tables or applying complex expression to each row before aggregation. So the aggregation is happened at a later stage. First row by rows calculation are done. So how it is done? Because it's an iterator function. SUMX, what is doing? We have sales table. Okay, so we are using this sales table, and using this sales table we are getting the quantity and then multiplying it with the price. So first the quantity will be multiplied with the price in each rows. Okay, then that new columns will be summed up. Okay, another question, what is difference between summarize and add column function in DAX? So summarize function is used to create summary table by grouping data based on one or more columns and aggregating values using a specified expression or function. It is commonly used to generate aggregated results and create a new table that summarizes the result. So what is happening here? Summarize table. So we are summarizing order table and on the basis of customer ID. Then we have the orders table where product ID and then total sales, sum of order sales. So we are summarizing in this way. So summarize function is there. Okay, we have orders table, we have customer ID field, we have orders table, product ID field, then we are getting the total sales of and sum of order sales. Now the add columns function is used to create a new table. Okay, it will create a new table by adding one or more calculated column to an existing table. It allows you to add calculated value or expression as new columns based on existing columns. So suppose you in order table, what you are doing, you are adding new calculated column. Add columns to order tables where profit is our new column, calculated column, and what it's doing from order tables sales and order table cost. So it is subtracting cost from the sales and then getting the profit in the profit column, and it's all happening on order table. So a new profit table profit column is being created using this add columns in existing table, that is orders. I hope you would have understood. So this is the we can say this is the theory part. We will be doing it practically in our forthcoming session. Okay, question number 23, how to calculate the previous period sales using DAX? So you can use previous period function in DAX. So calculate sum of sales over previous period and then we have date. Okay, so this is the previous function, previous period means month. If you say previous period is there are 1 to 12 period, January, February to December. So if we are in November, then we can calculate the sum of sum for the if you are November, we can calculate the sum for October using this function. Okay. Now 24th question, how do you calculate the cumulative sales for each month using DAX? So cumulative sales is calculate function you are applying on and summing the sales, then filter, then what you filtering, all date, ठीक है, and then date should be less than or equals to earlier and then date. So this is your cumulative sales for each month. Question number 25, how do you calculate the number of days between two dates using DAX? So what you do, you use date difference function, date diff. So days difference, if you need to get between two dates, so date diff the function, here is your start date, ठीक है, and here is your end date, and it will come into and the third argument is day. You need to get the difference in days. So using these two values of dates, you will get the difference as day, and it is being stored in this days difference column. 26th question, how do you add or subtract a specific number of days from a date using DAX? From a date. So to add or subtract days from date, you can use date add functions in DAX. So here is an example. So what you are doing, you have date add function and then you have date. Suppose it's a current date and then it's 7 and then in day. So it is saying this function is what it doing, it's adding the date, how much days it adding to this particular date, 7 days. How you know this is the 7, what it is? So it is actually the day. So it's telling that please add the 7 day in this date value, whatever it is. So if it is January 1, then it is saying, so it is, suppose it is January 1. So what this function doing, so it's saying please add 7 day in January 1, so it will be 8 January as your output. Now the question number 27, how do you format a date using a DAX? So many times this situations comes where we use to format the date. So to format the date, you can use format function in DAX. So what you do, suppose you have date like this. So in this uh, place you have a date and you are applying the format, and how should be your date format? It should be YYYY So format will be YYYY year, month and then date. Question number 28, how do you remove leading and trailing spaces? So suppose you add this ABC, so leading and trailing. So leading man, here you have a space, it's a leading, and here you have the trail, ठीक है? Is that clear? So it's leading and trailing. So if you need to remove that space, what will you do? From a text string using DAX. So what you will do, you can use trim function in DAX. So what you doing, you are trimming product column of the order table. Question number 29, how can you apply multiple filters to a table using DAX? So if you need to apply multiple functions, so what will you do? You will do it with the combination of logical operators such as and or. So here suppose you are filtering the orders table, and what you doing, orders where quantity is greater than 10. The first condition is this. First filtering is this. You will only pick those quantity which is greater than 10 from the order table. Then you are adding and the region should be north. So these two conditions should be satisfied. So whichever records are satisfying these two conditions, they will be filtered in this filtered table. Now the last question of this session is, How can you calculate the sum of sales for a specific category using DAX? So sum of sales for a specific category. So what you will do, you will use calculate function in combination with filter. Filter is for filtering the data based on category and then calculating the sum. You are using the calculate function. So two function we require, first in calculate then filter. So what we doing, let's see. So it is saying calculate. So calculate sum of sales. Filter from order tables where order category is bike. So if you go from right to left, so you will understand it more precisely, more clearly. Suppose you have an order table. So what this query is formula is telling, it telling that please give me those please filter the orders table where order category is bike, then only the category where bike is over on that category this sum will be applied, and this sum is applied on the sales column for this category. Okay, so this is the category sales. So I hope you would have got the idea of these 30 DAX questions. So basically these were conceptual based questions, but in the coming videos we will come with practical using the DAX. And first you start it with easy function, easy calculation. Once you make the grip over it, you can move to the higher level, you can move to the advanced level from where you can have a strong hold over this DAX language or DAX query language. So please, if you have any suggestion regarding the topic, which topic should I cover in the next session or in the coming videos, what you want, you can just put the comments in the comment box, and we will be meeting soon. Till then, uh, very thank you to all of you for watching this, and very goodbye to you all.